Good afternoon. I'm Tabitha Hochscheid for the Cincinnati Bar Association Health and Wellbeing Committee. The Health and Wellbeing Committee was started in January of 2012 to address issues relating to attorneys' stress, health and well-being, and to help attorneys in crisis. We're here today for our Balanced Living Lecture Series. Today's speaker is Jen Beck, who is a registered nutrition counselor who's going to talk today about eating for life instead of eating for stress or eating to put something in your stomach. And she is going to tell us her own personal story of how she got into this field, and also give us tips on how we can better approach our diet in relation to stress.
Essentials for Eating to Live is really the foundations that we need to be able to feel fantastic every single day. So I'm going to go through a little bit of information. I want to ask you a question before I really get started, though. These are two different couples who are the exact same age. Anybody tell me what the difference is between the two of them? One's active. One's happy. So you think about all of the things that each one of these couples did throughout the course of their lifetime. They may have made different choices on a daily basis, on an annual basis. So it's not that either one of these is an absolute destiny for for any of us sitting in the room. But it really is looking at, what do we want to have happen? How do we want to be able to feel when we're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old? Because can we agree there's people in their 80s that are still out playing tennis, and there's people in their 60s that are sitting in a nursing home. So what really is the difference between the two? And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, and really looking at the fundamentals. Because if you look at the levels of optimal wellness, that couple on the left, the active, healthy, happy couple, I think we can agree that they're very much in that health, wellness, and vitality. That's not a level of health that we're born with, though. That's something we actually need to work towards. We need to exercise, we need to eat right, we need to sleep, drink enough water, do stress management, some body work like massage and chiropractic to really be able to reach that level of optimal wellness. And it's not saying that we're never going to get sick, or we're not ever going to have anything happen, but if we can be able to build our health up to that level, we'll go down to symptoms, but we may not stay in that symptom range. Because if you look at the red line, this is where most Americans end up throughout the course of their life. So they're born with no symptoms, 5 years old, they are riding their bike, they fall off their bike, they bump their head, they've got a headache, right? What do most 5-year-olds do? Mom, I got a headache. She goes to the medicine cabinet, gives them an orange-dyed children's chewable Tylenol, and miraculously, the headache is gone. Is it gone, or is it just covered up? It numbs the pain, right? And so over the course of our lifetime, we go back and forth from that symptoms to no symptoms and eventually end up passing away. So my whole goal working with people is to be able to help them realize that health, wellness, and vitality is up there, and at the same time, the simple things that we can do to start building up to that level of health so we can really be able to wake up feeling energized and feeling fantastic every single day, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, to still have that energy like when we were kids. So what we're going to talk about today is why to eat to live, the fundamentals of it, and then really how to implement it on a daily basis. This is something I could be able to talk about for days. So I'm going to give you as much information as possible, but I'll also show you how you can be able to learn how to be able to start implementing it more on a baby step model, and so that way you can be able to start feeling those results and start seeing those results. So why am I here today? As I was sharing earlier with Tabitha, if you rewound the clock 15 years ago, you would see somebody in their mid-20s. You would see somebody that was living on a half a pot of coffee in the morning, a couple Super Slams of Mountain Dew, Hostess cupcakes, fast food, appetizers with the girls, and I smoked a half a pack a day. Now, most people looking at me today and knowing what I do go, wow, that's kind of a switch. What happened there? And growing up, we didn't really have a ton of rules about nutrition. This is actually a picture of me and my mom. She's my inspiration for this. We didn't have a ton of rules growing up around nutrition as a kid. We had, you can't bring cereal in the house if there's sugar in the first 3 ingredients, and we had soda on the weekends. That was about it. Everything else that we ate was out of a package, a box, a can, or frozen, because my mom has multiple sclerosis. She's had it my entire life, and about 15 years ago went through a series of relapses where she went from living on her own to being in a nursing home in 6 weeks after doing every preventative drug the doctors could throw at her. She was a guinea pig for everything new that came on the market to make sure that that never happened. And so here she is doing everything medically possible, and that was the result. A short time later, I met a woman that had MS, just the same amount of time as my mom, so we're talking about 26 years. And ironically, her husband was a pharmacist. But she took no medications. She treated her MS with diet, supplements, and exercise. The only issue that she had after 26 years of having MS is if she walked across a huge ballroom, she had to hold her husband's arm for stability. I went, wait a minute, how does this happen? My mom's done everything the doctors told her to do, and this woman's done none of it. Yet she's virtually untouched, and my mom had already been walking with a cane by the time I was 4. So I started doing a lot of research into nutrition, into specific nutrients, into alternative medicine. And what I found was amazing. I saw people reversing MS, fibromyalgia, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all by changing what they put in their mouth or didn't put in their mouth. So I went and got a certification in nutrition from a school out in California about 10 years ago, and I've been working with people ever since. And it's been amazing to see the transformation and to see them reclaiming their health and in a lot of cases reclaiming their lives. So what I want to talk about first is kind of give you an idea of where we're at as a society. Because some of the statistics out there right now are pretty scary. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard some of these as headlines in the news, on Time magazine. You know, 95% of Americans are going to die of heart disease, diabetes, or cancer. That means the majority of us in this room are going to end up with one of these chronic diseases. If you look at the amount of obese and overweight population, this is a growing statistic. 65% of us are overweight. If you look at Hamilton County, that's how many people are obese. So we've got to really look at what we're doing to ourselves on a daily basis and how do we get these statistics. Because think about it, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, did we have that kind of obese population? No, things have changed over the course of the last 3 decades, haven't they? And they're continuing to decrease. 1 out of 5 kids today are obese. There's kids that now, after doing autopsies for a young child death, there's 1-year-olds that are dealing with atherosclerosis, which is a cardiovascular disease, a hardening of the arteries that's typically seen in elderly people. And we're seeing it in babies and infants. So it's really important to look at, you know, what it's costing us, both health-wise, quality of life, and even just the amount of money it's costing per person. This is the first time in American history that our quality of life and our health and our life expectancy is going down. There's pediatrics came out and said that this is the first time in history that in this day and age, our kids are living sicker and dying younger than their parents. So we've got a lot of things that are really going on in our health, and the biggest thing is all of these diseases that I've talked about are linked directly to what we put in our mouth or don't put in our mouth. And so it's knowing those things and then actually implementing that on a daily basis. Okay? So why the confusion about nutrition? How many of you guys have ever seen a diet or watched Dr. Oz and seen one thing, and then 2 days later it's something different, and then 2 days later it's something different, and we're supposed to eat low fat, oh no, wait, just kidding, we're supposed to eat low carb, oh wait, no, just kidding, we're supposed to eat low sugar. There's so much information out there. How do you really determine where to start? If you Google it, there's 25 million websites on how to eat healthy. So there's an abundance of information. Nutrition is also the only science where you can have opposing theories, and both of them can be proven with research. Milk is good for you. Milk is bad for you. Vitamin E is good for you. Vitamin E is bad for you. Whole grain is good for you. Whole grain is bad for you. It's like, where do we really start? And then we have the last issue with the misleading information from the food manufacturers. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but a lot of the stuff that we see on the front of a package that says it's healthy is almost, not quite, but almost a lie, because we're eliminating all of the negative stuff about that product and highlighting the 1 or 2 good things. So we really want to look at the fundamentals of really looking at how to eat well. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Not quite lies, but pretty close. Because thinking about these two, which one would you think would be healthier? Total. Why? Whole grain, it's not for kids, right? The interesting thing is there's actually more sugar in total than there is in Trix. Both of them are claimed to be healthy, right? You can look at the Trix box, and it says a good source of vitamin D and calcium. However, there's 10 grams of sugar. There's 4 types of food dyes. and the amount of food, the quickness of how much that's going to process for our kids, we're literally setting our kids up for ADHD by feeding them a bowl of cereal in the morning like that, because there's not enough protein, and food dyes are one of the biggest triggers for ADHD, and it's loaded with sugar. Total is not all that much better. There's 5 different types of sugar in here. There's 11 grams of sugar in a serving. And so yes, it's more whole grains, so it'll stay with us a little bit longer, but not a whole lot because it's still processed grains. Okay? So what we want to look for is really getting back to the fundamentals. We want to look at healthy proteins. We want to look at healthy fats. We want to look at healthy carbohydrates. And having those in a balance so that our body stays stable. Okay? It's like talking about that Trix. If we're looking at Trix, there's very little nutritional value to it and very little satisfaction for stabilizing our blood sugar. So we need to be able to have that protein to be able to feed our muscles. We need to have the fats. The fats are actually what tell our brain to stop eating, that we're full. It releases a chemical in our stomach that tells our brain that we're full. So we kind of need those fats. So eating no-fat, low-fat foods will actually remove the fat and replace it with sugar and chemicals. So it's the same exact amount of calories. We just don't have the ability to have that shut-off indicator when we're eating those foods. So we want to look at the healthy protein, healthy carbs, and healthy fats, and that's really what these foods are. We're looking for foods that don't have labels. If you eat a food that has a label, look for something that has less than 5 ingredients. So we can be able to and make sure they're ingredients that you can actually read, right? There's no Latinese or sciencese or words that have 15, 25 syllables in it. So we want to look for fresh produce. We want to look for lean meats. We want to make sure that we're incorporating some healthy fats in there, things like avocados and seeds, nuts. Even real butter, organic real butter, organic dairy, and things like that are great sources of healthy fats that we want to have in the right balance for our body. Okay? And that's really where the metabolic design comes in. See, everybody's body processes foods differently. You have somebody that's a carbohydrate type, and this is where really those diets come in, where you can have somebody on an Atkins diet and somebody else on a low-fat diet. And 2 people can get results, but if they're eating for the wrong metabolic design, it will actually sabotage their efforts. Somebody who has a carbohydrate metabolic design is somebody whose metabolism is almost underperforming. It takes them a lot longer to be able to convert food into energy. So they need to have 70% of their plate coming from vegetables, coming from whole grains, coming from more fruits. Now, if somebody on the other end of the spectrum, like a protein type, which is me, if I actually eat a bowl of pasta or a Cliff Bar or a bowl of cereal, I'm hungry by the time I'm done eating it because my metabolism is almost in overdrive. So for somebody that's a protein type, you need to slow that down with more protein and more fats to be able to stabilize that. One of the biggest components of our health is really stabilizing our blood sugar. If we have blood sugar spikes and drops, we don't have the ability to have clear thinking. We don't have the ability to maintain a low level of inflammation in our bodies. You guys have ever been stressed out and you go and you grab a piece of chocolate or a soda or something like that, and a half an hour later you actually feel worse than you did before? Right? That's because our blood sugar spikes and then it crashes. And one thing to really remember about that, when we're going for those quick fix foods, we're going for those the sugar substitute or the sugar additives and things like that, when we're trying to get that quick fix of energy, we're actually sabotaging our long-term energy. I'll give you an example. I have a gal that, when I first started working with her, Tricia was a manager of a bank. She had a gas station next door, and once in the morning, once in the afternoon, she'd go out next door and be able to get a soda and a candy bar because she was so stressed out. She didn't get along with her assistant manager, and it was a very busy branch, and so she was constantly just trying to be able to keep her energy up. But by the time she got home at 7 o'clock at night, she was dragging in. She had 2 girls that were 9 and 14, had no energy to be able to take care of them, and really just wasn't excited about anything in life. Dragged her butt out of bed every morning and just kind of went through the motions. Well, we sat down, we did our metabolic design assessment, which is a 64-question assessment that goes through everything about how your body relates to foods and how it interacts, and specific characteristics about your body that determines this. So we changed her eating habits and got her eating more whole foods, and within 2 weeks, she had dropped 9 pounds. She was forcing herself to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. She was the one that was volunteering at 6 o'clock to be able to take the kids to all their activities because she had so much energy, and she had no sugar cravings. Why? Because her body finally was actually getting real nutrients. It's going, yes, I can utilize this stuff, versus the quick fix that we use to be able to get through that afternoon, or get through that morning, or get through that case, or get through that next thing that we just need to be able to get through. So it's really amazing when we give our bodies what it needs, it has the ability to function at such a higher level and can be able to maintain that energy level long term. Okay? So these are examples of whole foods in balance. So our whole goal, every single meal, every single snack, is to be able to ask ourselves, what's my protein, what's my fat, what's my carbohydrate? Now you'll notice at the top of the carbohydrates, those are mostly vegetables, aren't they? That's really what we want to focus on, is having more vegetables in our diet. They're high in fiber, they're high in nutrients, and they're low in sugar. So that helps to be able to stabilize our blood sugar and make sure that our body is functioning at a higher level. Okay? And combining that with healthy fats and some healthy protein allows us to stay satisfied and be able to stay full for longer periods of time. So I have a lot of people go, okay, but you don't understand my schedule. You have no idea what I'm dealing with on a daily basis as far as being able to cook stuff and being able to make that happen. And I can appreciate that. We all have busy lives. We all have things and commitments that we have in our lives and people to take care of and whatnot. But it's a matter of having a plan and being able to start implementing that. So think about, what if you could be able to cook up, a half a dozen chicken breasts on a Monday, and you have some that you can be able to have for salads. You can have some that you can turn into a chicken salad for snacks. You can have some that you can be able to cut up for quesadillas. You have things that you can be able to do very, very simply once or twice a week to be able to take care of your lunches and your snacks the rest of the week. So it's a matter of implementing it little by little. A great meal in the morning, if you're somebody that doesn't eat a lot of breakfast in the morning, or you don't have a lot of time in the morning, is to throw together a green smoothie. The first time I ever heard that, I was like, you want me to do what? You want me to put spinach or broccoli or kale into a smoothie? It's disgusting. The great thing about it is you can't really taste it. So you combine that with berries, frozen berries. You combine it with a chocolate protein powder, a little bit of almond butter and almond milk, and it tastes like a chocolate peanut butter cup. It's a little funky colored because it's berries and greens, but it tastes really good, and it's very satisfying. It'll get you all the nutrients that you need to increase the oxygen into your blood, to be able to detoxify it, and really keep you satisfied throughout the morning. It's something great you can be able to make as a snack as well. So it's incorporating each one of those with every meal and every snack. Okay? So you want to ask yourself, what's my protein, what's my carb, what's my fat, and then make sure you're eating about every 2 to 3 hours. This is crucial. One of the biggest challenges that I see with a lot of people that I work with for weight management is that they wait to eat lunch, or they wait to eat, period, until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or they're skipping meals, or they're skipping snacks. And our body needs that ongoing energy, that fuel, to be able to keep us going throughout the day. And that snack in the middle of the afternoon, it doesn't have to be much. It could be a handful of raw almonds that you have stashed in your desk. It can be a handful of trail mix. It can be some celery and almond butter. It can be something very, very simple. But that stabilization of our blood sugar really allows us to cut down on the sugar cravings. It allows us to maintain and maximize our energy. And most importantly, helps with mental clarity to be able to keep us focused and concentrated on our work throughout the afternoon. Because how many of us have ever had that 2 o'clock in the afternoon drop? Anybody? Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, on whether you're a carb, protein, or fat person,
Yes.
you need more fats in the blood workup. What's the primary way of determining that, other than maybe have a sense of yourself?
So your question is, how do you determine the protein, carb, and the mixed?
Well, in terms of whether you're a person that needs more carb, that one chart you showed.
Sure. So that's an assessment that you can do. It's about 64 questions long that goes through, and it determines everything about your characteristics of your body, how you react to certain foods. So you can determine a little bit of this by really paying attention to our body. I have a lot of people that I first start working with that really I ask them, well, how does this food make you feel? Like, how do you feel after you eat grains? I don't know. I've never thought of it. Well, what happens if you eat protein, like eat steak for lunch? You have a burger for lunch. I don't know, I've never really thought of it. So a lot of it's really getting aware and getting present to how our bodies react. The assessment that I do goes a little bit deeper into that and really looking at specific characteristics in the body. But it really is, first and foremost, paying attention to your body and paying attention to how you feel on a daily basis after meals. energy-wise, mental clarity, mood-wise. How many of you guys have ever had the claws come out middle of the afternoon maybe? Maybe you're talking to a delicate client or maybe a judge or something like that that can just push your buttons a little bit. Making sure that we have that stabilized blood sugar really allows us to be able to keep our emotions in check and be able to deal with that a little bit better. Okay? So eat every 2 to 3 hours. Make sure that you're getting adequate protein, carbs, and fats with each meal. Okay? These are 10 of the most cancer-fighting, heart-healthy foods, and really foods that we want to look at incorporating on a daily basis. You guys ever heard about superfoods? If you've watched Dr. Oz, you've heard of superfoods, right? These are the foods that are the most healing. So how many of you guys get at least one of these on a daily basis? Good. How about 2? How about 5? How about 7? Good. We still have some hands up. That's awesome. The more foods that we can be able to get from this list, the healthier we're going to be. The lower risks of heart disease, of cancer, and really making sure that our bodies are functioning and we're more on that couple, the active couple that's healthy, happy, and enjoying life. Okay? So I have a lot of people that I talk to that go, I eat right, I don't need to supplement. Which, in all reality, if you're eating absolutely the way that you should and everything you should be, absolutely true. The challenge is that with the way that our foods are grown today, the genetically modified processing that we go through, as well as the fact that we're picking our fruits and vegetables early, ripening them in a warehouse, and then we come along, and the trucks come along, take them to the store. A couple days later, you and I come and pick them and eat them. They're very deficient in the nutrients in the first place. And then a lot of people are overcooking them and things like that. So when I tell people, if you're dealing with some kind of a health challenge, look at being able to support that system of your body with specific nutrients and to be able to heal your body instead of going and getting medication. I have a guy that was dealing with prostate cancer. He had actually had colon cancer, wasn't able to have radiation or chemotherapy for his prostate cancer, and through supplementation, within 3 months was cancer-free. I've had people that had chronic fibromyalgia, where they would take off 3 or 4 days a month from work because of pain, that after a course of doing a detox and then being able to do some restorative work with antioxidants, didn't have a flare-up for over 7 months. So it's amazing what we can be able to do to heal our bodies, but we've got to be able to take that step to look at what we really want to be able to create and what our next level of health really is. Because it's all the little decisions that we make on a daily basis that either move us towards that healthy, active couple or move us towards the frumpy, grumpy couple that are sitting in a nursing home, right? It's not everything happens in one day. It's all the little things that we do each day, all the little decisions that we make each day that bring us one direction or the other, okay? So one of the key things as well is to be able to focus on hydration. How many of you guys drink water on a daily basis? I see a lot of water bottles. This is awesome. How much water do you drink on a daily basis? Do you get the whole half of your body weight in ounces per day? If you do, that's a great start. From there, then it's a matter of every time we have a soda, a coffee, or an alcoholic beverage to have 2 glasses of water to counteract each one of those. So a great way to think about getting off of pop or decreasing the amount of coffee we're drinking and things like that is to make sure that we just have that counteracting water intake for each one of those. That gives us a good realization. So if somebody weighs 150 pounds, they need to have 75 ounces of water on a daily basis. If you have somebody that's a couple hundred pounds, they're looking at 100 ounces of water on a daily basis. This doesn't include the caffeine, the coffee, the soda, the alcohol, right? Those are completely separate. This is pure water to really hydrate our cells, to hydrate our joints, to keep our mind clear, and really making sure that our body is free of the toxins that we take in every day from things that we eat, from foods that or things that we drink, from the air that we breathe, and from the stress that we encounter on a daily basis, okay? So doing it daily. This is some key things that you can be able to just think about focusing on, little baby steps that we can implement on a daily basis. So you have eating whole foods and balanced, we talked about that. Eating breakfast within an hour of waking up. When we eat breakfast within an hour of waking up, it starts our metabolism. If we wait, our metabolism is actually kind of asleep for the rest of the day. If we wait too long, if we wait until lunch or in the middle of the afternoon, our body's already in starvation mode. It goes, I don't know when I'm going to get more food, so I'm just going to start storing everything that I'm getting now to be able to kind of go into hibernation, and that way if we don't get food for another few hours, another day, another week, we're good, we've got reserves. So it's really important to be able to eat within an hour of waking up. Do you have a question, Ken?
If you exercise early in the morning, is a protein shake okay as a substitute for your breakfast?
Yes. Yes, if you're exercising first thing in the morning, you can be able to have a protein shake for a meal replacement. Another thing, if you're somebody that needs some energy, some quick energy in the morning to be able to convert before you go to work out, doing a half of a green apple and some almond butter gives you some free access energy that you can be able to utilize during your workout, but you're also stabilizing your energy levels or stabilizing your blood sugar with the almond butter. So it's a great way to be able to maintain that balance, yet still have the ready reserves of energy. Okay? So vegetables, the FDA and USDA used to say that we need to eat 9 to 11 servings of vegetables on a daily basis. They actually dropped that down to 5 to 7 because nobody was getting the 9 to 11. In all reality, less than 9% of our population eats a dark leafy green on a daily basis. Less than 9%. And those are one of the best things for detoxifying our blood. So we want to make sure that we're incorporating those. That's why I love the green smoothie, because you don't have to actually taste them. You just drink them. And limiting our sugar intake for 25 milligrams or 25 grams of sugar or less. There's 4 teaspoons, or there's 1 teaspoon for every 4 grams of sugar. So when you look at the side of a can of soda, or you look at a little cup of yogurt that's flavored, you're getting anywhere between 4 and 11 teaspoons of sugar in some of those things. Looking at a bottle of like the Odwalla juice or the Naked juices and things like that, a lot of people go, it's juice, it's healthy for me. In many cases, there's anywhere between 45 and 60 grams of sugar in one of those bottles. So yes, the nutrients are good for us, but that's like taking an IV and sticking it into our arm because there's no fiber left in the juice to be able to slow down that transition into our blood sugar. And we also want to look at minimizing the amount of sodium that we're intaking on a daily basis. 2,300 milligrams is the max. That's about a teaspoon of salt on a daily basis. So when you're going out and you're looking at foods in the grocery store, you're looking at different contents, look at how much sodium we're getting. Sodium will directly impact our blood sugar, or our blood pressure levels, as well as create water retention. So having too much sodium in our diet is not a good thing. We want to look at trying to keep it around 1,500 milligrams of sodium on a daily basis versus the 23. 2,300 is like the max. Okay? So these are just some things that you can be able to start looking at on a daily basis and start being able to just kind of keep track about how much we're getting. Okay? So I know that some of you guys right now are going, oh, that's a lot of information. I've got a lot of stuff to be able to work on. A health breakthrough session is really an opportunity to sit down and really look at, okay, so I'm dealing with diabetes, or I'm dealing with heart disease, or I've got high blood pressure and high cholesterol. How do I get it down? I've been on every diet under the sun, and I cannot figure out how to actually get off of that diet roller coaster and be able to have a solid plan to make that happen. That's what a health breakthrough session is. And this is really an opportunity to focus for almost an entire hour just on you and creating a true action plan so that you can walk out of there knowing I need to focus on this, this, and this, and take those baby steps. You know, going back to where I was at 15 years ago when I started making all those changes, for me it was an overwhelming amount of things that I had to change. You know, I mean, giving up Hostess cupcakes, giving up Diet Mountain Dew, giving up cigarettes, giving up all of that stuff to be able to get to a healthy place in my life and to be able to preserve my health, it was a challenge and it felt really overwhelming. I didn't do all of that at once. It was baby steps. So it was, you know, I remember when I gave up carbs, when I got off processed carbs. I remember going out and ordering a burger, and I would just cut off all of the bread that didn't touch the burger. If it didn't impact the flavor of the burger, I didn't need to eat it, right? So it was just empty calories. So doing little things like that. Switching out and going from, you know, Ritz crackers to something like a Mary's Gone crackers, which is whole grain. So it's about up-leveling our choices and taking little steps that we can do on a daily basis. Compensating for the soda or the alcohol we're taking in by adding more water in there. So it's all about taking the little tiny baby steps on a daily basis. Okay? So obviously having a plan is key. Can we agree that all the stuff that I've talked about, if you don't have a plan to do it, it's going to be a little challenging to be able to start making changes, right? So it's really about having a plan, and having a plan consists of looking at our schedule on a weekly basis and going, okay, what do I have going on? How many meals do I need to plan for me and for my family? What things do I need to get at the grocery store? How can I be able to simplify it so I can be able to have that balance, but at the same time not make myself crazy and turn my entire lifestyle upside down trying to be able to make all these changes happen? And it really is. It's creating a simple plan. It's looking at our schedule. It's looking at how can I be able to cook once and eat twice. My husband and I had some friends over on Sunday night. We cooked up some grass-fed organic steaks. We had some roasted asparagus. We had some organic corn on the cob. And we had a nice salad. So that was on Sunday. On Monday, I made a chicken and broccoli casserole. And so then we had 2 meals between Sunday and Monday. Well, that casserole became lunch on Tuesday. And the salad Tuesday night, or the steak Tuesday from Sunday night, became a salad on Tuesday night. So I took a huge bed of lettuce, added some roasted red peppers, some feta cheese, some cherry tomatoes, fresh mushrooms. And so I just started pulling stuff out of the fridge and adding it to it. And then we did a mushroom-infused balsamic and a black fig, or mushroom-infused olive oil and then a black fig balsamic vinegar. And that's what we had for a dressing. And the salad was very satisfying and very fulfilling because there was healthy fats in it from the oils from the feta. There's a ton of different flavors involved in it. So a lot of times when we think about dieting or getting healthy, we think about cottage cheese, carrots, flavorless foods, water only, depriving ourselves of any enjoyment with food, right? The biggest thing is really to be able to enjoy our food and enjoy life, but just do it in a way that's really nourishing for our bodies and giving us that balance. So if you, on my website on advancedwellnesscoaching.com, there's a blog on there, and there's a ton of healthy recipes. There's a great green smoothie recipe on there. There's the broccoli casserole recipe is on there. So it's availability to be able to have things that are really nourishing and fueling for our bodies that are still really simple to implement on a daily basis. Okay? And the biggest thing we talked about a little bit earlier is really listening to your body. Your body is the only thing that can really tell you if it's doing well or if it's not. Yes, you can use medical testing, you can do blood work and things like that, but really, some of those results lie. I have a gentleman that is about 100 pounds overweight, and he drinks about 3 to 6 beers a day, doesn't drink any water, really, does not take care of himself at all. But his blood pressure was 100% fine. Well, if you look at the blood thinning effects that alcohol have, it's amazing how much some of that can be able to be impacted. If you look at being dehydrated, sometimes we'll actually have low blood pressure because our blood vessels aren't full. So a lot of times the medical testing can lie. A lot of times we can get false positives and things like that. And I'm not saying don't talk to your doctor, don't go have testing done. Please do, make sure you know your numbers. But it's really a matter of learning to listen to our bodies, figuring out how your body's feeling. If you're not waking up every single morning, or at least most mornings, feeling great, think about what you're doing and how your sleep is impacted. Because a lot of times we're eating sugar, we're eating carbohydrates, we're having alcohol in the evening, and then we wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And we just go, I can't sleep. Or is it really that our blood sugar is crashing halfway through the night, and that's waking us up? So it's a lot of little things that are directly related to our diet and what we put in our mouth and what we don't put in our mouth. But we don't have the ability to really discern a lot of that stuff. We look at the sugar cravings and things like that, and we just think it's just part of life, or I'm a stress eater. A lot of that is because we're not getting the balance that we need on a daily basis, or it could be that you're dealing with candida. Candida is a digestive yeast that, when in balance, is natural in our bodies. But the more we feed that candida sugar, the more it grows. The more it grows, the more it demands. The more it demands, the more we eat, and it's a cyclical thing, right? So if we can be able to get that candida in check, amazingly, our sugar cravings can decrease. The more we eat consistently throughout the day, every 2 to 3 hours, those sugar cravings will decrease. Our energy levels will skyrocket. So it's really a matter of looking, again, at all of the little things that we can be able to pay attention to that are going on in our bodies. I have a gal that I just started, I worked with for 3 months about 4 months ago. And she had hit her goal weight, And she wanted to lose about 25 pounds in that 4 months, had hit her goal weight, and then had decided that she wanted to be able to hit some other goals because she decided that she was frustrated with her weight again. Well, looking back to where she was at 6 months ago with her toxicity levels, on a scale of 1 to 100, she was a 97. The changes that she had made by drinking more water and by changing her diet and by eating more consistently, eating whole foods in balance, she was now at a 27. So she had the ability to improve her health that much more. She didn't have the headaches, she didn't have the migraines, she didn't have the mood swings, she didn't have the sugar cravings, she didn't have the joint pain, she didn't have the sleep problems. So all of those things changed because she changed her diet. So my point is that it's not overhauling your entire lifestyle in one day, but it's thinking about all the little things that are going on that we just kind of accept as old age, right? I'm just getting older, you're just supposed to get more tired, you're supposed to get grumpier, you're supposed to feel aches and pains. And we really don't have to. We really have the ability to feel fantastic every day. Because I can promise you that I feel better at 39 today than I did in my 20s because of the changes I made. Yeah?
You mentioned something before about the blood sugar crashing during the night.
Yes. Yes.
Where do you come out on whether you should eat something before you go to bed? I've seen things recently that say you should eat like protein before bedtime. And I've seen other things that say, no, don't eat before bed to gain weight that way.
Okay, so the question is, do you eat before bed or do you not to be able to stabilize your blood sugar? A lot of that goes back to looking at your metabolic design. Okay, so if you're somebody that's a protein type, you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours with something with protein and fat in it. I'm a protein type. I have to have something within about an hour before I go to bed. And it's really, I mean, it could be a small piece of like a sliced turkey, like Applegate turkey. It could be a small handful of almonds, something to be able to keep us going. Think about when you were a kid or when we were kids a few years ago, 30 years ago, right? We had a glass of warm milk. It's the protein in there, and it's the tryptophan that was released that allowed us to be able to sleep through the night. Kind of the same thing depending on your body. Now, there are people out there that are carbohydrate type that if they eat, in the evening, they will wake up. It also depends on what you eat. I have some people that will wake up in the middle of the night because they're eating crackers, and they're eating chips and things like that in the evening, or they're having alcohol, which will help them fall asleep, but then again, their blood sugar crashes, and it wakes them back up. So if you do have a glass of wine, and you're worried about waking up in the morning, have a small handful of almonds right before you go to bed if you're more of the protein type and you need to be able to have that. The other thing is to pay attention to how your body reacts to certain foods and reacts to alcohol while you're sleeping. So I would start off by looking at doing a sleep journal first and kind of just track what you've eaten that evening and then how it affects your sleep. And then it will help you to be able to make different determinations based on that. Okay, yes? Okay, so Greek yogurt, she's asking about Greek yogurt and peanut butter. So Greek yogurt is higher in protein than regular yogurt. With yogurt, the couple things you want to look at, one is organic. Okay? Any type of dairy has to be organic because otherwise you're getting the hormones and the antibiotics that they give to the cows to be able to get the cows to produce. So we want to remove that from our diet. Okay? The other thing is to be able to look at the sugar content. There's natural sugar in yogurt, which is lactose. It's still a sugar. And there's typically anywhere between 10 and 16 grams depending on the size of the container that you're eating. But when we're adding sugar to that, we're adding the flavor, the fruit added to it, a lot of times that'll go up to 16, 18, 22 grams of sugar. Even the vanilla is like, I think the last one I looked at was like 21 grams of sugar. So have plain organic yogurt. If you need more protein, because you want about 15 grams of protein at a meal and about half of that per snack. So roughly about a cup of regular yogurt or 3/4 cup to half a cup of Greek. Greek has about 10 more grams of protein in it than regular yogurt does. Okay? As far as peanut butter goes, this again goes back to you and your body. For many, many people, it's very difficult to digest peanut butter. Almond butter is a much better alternative because you're still getting the protein and you're getting healthier fats in that. Peanuts actually aren't a nut, they're a legume. They're a bean. But we just assume that they're a peanut because they're called nut. So almond butter is a much better alternative to that than peanut butter is. Yes?
If you're carbohydrate based and you have that in the evening as a vegetable, you still have a drop in the blood sugar.
as far as?
Interrupting the sleep if you have carbohydrates at dinner.
Yes, if you have carbohydrates at dinner, it can be able to impact your sleep, especially if you're a protein type, because that's going to spike and drop faster. So instead of doing potatoes and more of the starchy vegetables, doing more of the green veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, peppers, onions, mushrooms, all of those are a better option than doing potatoes in the evening. So if you're going to do your starchier vegetables, have those earlier in the day so they don't have the same impact.
What about like leg cramps? Is there something in the diet that's either missing, or should they have to, when you get at night when you wake up and you have a Charlie horse or something?
There's a couple things that I've found over the years that impact that. One is water. If you're dehydrated, you're much more susceptible to that. If you're somebody that's overly active and like a marathon runner or something like that, sometimes it can be your sodium levels. It can be a combination of sodium levels and potassium levels and having just your electrolytes off balance. Calcium is also something that can be able to help with leg cramps and being able to relieve those. So doing a calcium-magnesium combination before you go to bed can be able to also help to relieve that. The other thing to look at, too, is your shoes. If your shoes are too big and you're sliding around in them, they can actually cause foot cramps and leg cramps as well. So make sure you have a good fitting shoe.
For people who don't cook, to what degree do you think restaurants and even fast food restaurants have made strides towards having healthier foods? And can you accomplish a lot of this if you just select the right items at restaurants rather than cooking them yourself?
Sort of. So the question was, can you accomplish this level of health by eating at restaurants or fast food restaurants? And sort of. There's better options that are out there, but you also, again, going back to the misleading information, there's a lot of the fast food places that are offering healthier or low-calorie stuff that's still not good quality, right? So McDonald's, I know this is being taped, but don't go to McDonald's. It's got to be probably the worst quality food that's out there. Tyson chicken is very much the same thing. It says all natural all over the front of it. They're not natural. They're grown in 100,000 bird cages that are completely closed off, and there's birds that die in there every single day. They're fed hormones. They're fed antibiotics to be able to keep them well, and then we eat all that stuff. So we've got to make sure that we're looking at better quality. Okay? As far as restaurants that are out there, you've got to do your research. Okay? So even like Mitchell's Fish Market, this is a company that you would think, being a fish place, would be naturally healthy. Well, it's healthier maybe than going to Red Robin, but it's not necessarily the healthiest. Because if you look at all the things that they add even to their cedar plank salmon, it's not necessarily the healthiest thing. So it's very important to pay attention to that, and especially when you're looking at salads. A lot of people go out and have a salad for lunch. Well, if you go to Applebee's and look at their Asian salad, their Asian chicken salad, there's over 1,100 calories. If you look at TGI Fridays pecan crusted chicken salad, there's as many calories and fat in that as there is in a Chipotle loaded burrito. But it's a salad, so it's healthy, right? So it's really being aware of what we're eating. So Chipotle, I tell people that Chipotle is an acceptable option if you're doing a salad, you're doing just the meat, having one of the salsas other than the corn, and then doing guacamole versus the sour cream and the cheese. So that's the healthiest version of Chipotle. Panera actually has a hidden menu, which nobody seems to know about because it's hidden. But they have things like a roasted turkey bowl. They have a steak lettuce wrap bowl. They have all of these great dishes that are very high in vegetables, decent amount of protein, low sodium, but they're hidden. So go in there and ask them, well, what's on your hidden menu? Or go look on Panera's website, and where they have their nutrition and menu facts, there's a little hidden pink or peach button that says hidden menu. But that's probably one of the healthier versions of things that are out there as far as options go. And when you go to a restaurant, the easiest way to be able to eat out is decide what you want before you eat. Right? So you walk in there, you decide that I'm going to have grilled chicken, I'm going to have some sauteed vegetables or steamed vegetables, and I'm going to have a salad. And then you tell the server before you even look at the menu, because how tempting is it to look at a menu? You go to a restaurant, you're reading all the, oh God, that sounds good. Oh, I can't make up my mind. And we end up eating something we probably would have not chosen if we weren't starving at that moment. So having the presence of mind and being mindful of what we want to have and want to put in our body as fuel allows us to be able to make better choices. Because if there's one thing you walk away from today, believing and changing your mindset to, is that food is really fuel for our bodies. Think about if you had a Ferrari. Would you go dump oil in the gas tank? Would you put E85 in there? Would you put sugar in there? But what kind of things are we doing to our bodies? Because our bodies are just as high performance, or could be just as high performance as a Ferrari, but we need to give it the right fuel and the best quality fuel and the highest octane for it to be able to function the way that we want it to. So if we shift our mind from food is comfort, quick fix, energy, something to fill our stomach with, and really start focusing on the fact that food is fuel and we want the best quality food and the best quality fuel for our bodies, we can be able to then function at a higher level. Okay. Yes?
What are your thoughts on vegetarian and vegan diets?
Question is vegetarian or vegan diets, what are my thoughts on them? Depending on the individual and depending on if they do it right or if they do it wrong. I have a client that I just started working with. She went vegetarian for health reasons about 7 years ago. Right now, she's struggling. She's got horrific acne. She's about 75 pounds overweight. Her hair is falling out. She has no energy, and she's got wild mood swings. And so we've been working together for about a month now. In that amount of time, well, and going back to the metabolic design, she's a protein type. And there are certain people that have to have animal protein. This gal is one of them. So over the course of the last month, she started eating eggs. She's eaten like 1 ounce of other proteins, whether it be chicken or beef or whatnot, fish, and has eaten more vegetables and healthier foods versus all the processed packaged stuff she was eating before. And in the course of the last month, her skin is completely cleared up. She's dropped about 8 pounds and has better energy levels than she did before. So personal preference. Obviously, some people become vegetarian or vegan because of animal rights and things like that. If you're doing it for health reasons, you have to make sure you're doing it the right way. You can't just eat grains. You just can't eat things out of a box. You just can't eat things that are not meat. Right? So you've got to know the perfect protein balance and things like that. So instead of doing brown rice, doing quinoa. Quinoa is a complete protein versus brown rice. If you're going to do brown rice, then make sure you have beans with it, so you have a complete combination of the amino acids. So there's a lot more challenge when it comes to doing the vegetarian or vegan the right way to be able to maximize our health versus incorporating some animal protein, which has that complete profile of amino acids. So the biggest thing I want you guys to remember, if you ignore your health, it'll go away. It's all the baby steps that we take every single day that allows us to be able to build into our health and be 80 years old playing tennis, traveling, and hanging out with our grandkids, or all the little things we do on a daily basis that lead us to here. So we want to make sure that we take baby steps every day. We make little small choices. Do I really need this? What would be healthier between the two of these? And I think it's great that they provided you guys with a healthy lunch. I've gone to some talks and they have Skyline, pizza. I'm like, not really congruent here. But so it's a matter of if you're in a social situation, if you have have other restraints where you don't have total control, then ask yourself, what's the best choice? How can I be able to make sure that I'm giving my body more fuel instead of just filling my stomach or just giving me that quick fix? So I appreciate your time this afternoon. You guys have handouts. There's an assessment in there for you too that you can be able to go through and kind of rate how you're doing health-wise, energy-wise. Little things that you can be able to start focusing on, improving on a daily basis. So in each category, your max goal, your max score is 30. That's where you really want to get to. And there's a guide up there that also breaks down to be able to say, if you're 30 to 24, or if you're 23 to 16. And if we're lower than 16, we need some immediate attention in those areas. So I'm happy to be able to hang around and answer any questions. I would also invite you to visit advancedwellnesscoaching.com. There's a free report on there, which is 10 things that you can be able to do now to be able to maximize your health. And then connect with us on Facebook as well. We have daily health tips of the day. There's special promotions and things like that on there. My whole goal is to be able to really give as much value as possible. so that we can be able to go out and change the health of Cincinnati and change the health of our country. Because right now, going back to those statistics, we've got some work to do. So I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks so much for your time today. Take care and God bless.